People, deluded. Good morning, and I hope you're all doing well on this Easter Sunday. And happy Easter Sunday for those of you that are celebrating it for religious purposes. But let's crack on now. Arsenal versus Palace is soon to come, but we might as well deal with some of the transfer gossip that's come out to people. Now, if we look at the first one and the one I actually want to speak about, it excites me. I know it won't happen, but it excites me nonetheless. Zaha. Now, allegedly, Palace, Arsenal are very interested in signing Zaha, as we have been for a while now. Allegedly, we've had a lot of scouts watching him ridiculously this season. Allegedly, if we go on paper talk, there's a growing belief that he will leave Crystal Palace at the end of the season, and Crystal Palace are open to selling him of sorts. And allegedly, they want 75 million. And between Zaha, you look at Zaha, you look at Wan-Bissaka. If they ever decide to sell them, they're bringing in well over 100 million that could potentially be reinvested within their squad. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in regards to Arsenal. I remember watching his interview and he said he wanted Champions League football. I know he was an Arsenal fan and he said he still supports us. Would love Zaha at the club, but he said Champions League football. Now, we've seen Borussia Dortmund linked with him for a while now. If they're going to sell him to a rival in England, they're going to charge us this 75. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to Dortmund for 40 to 50 million because they're the fact that they're in Germany. He wants Champions League football. I think he's done very well to rebuild his career. And in hindsight, when you look at him, Memphis Depay to a degree, this is probably the ages they should have been moving to Man United respectively, because if you're not the finished article, you're going to struggle. You look at Malcolm at Barcelona, you should be, obviously it's hard to turn down these clubs, but you should be moving to them clubs where as a winger, for example, you're 10 goals and assists minimum, not when you're still developing, because you're not going to play. And it was the case. Like I said, Zaha's done very well to rebuild himself. He's back at Palace. He feels loved. He can play on either side of the flanks. He's been excelling through the middle. He's a maverick. He scores goals. He gets assists. He excites people. We ain't seen that since Alexis Sanchez. Of course, I'm overselling it a bit, but that skill set's left us when Alexis left us. And Zaha's an exciting guy. He's a Londoner. He's an Arsenal fan. I'd be all for it. The only sticking point is 75 million. They'll do business for 50. If Arsenal allegedly only have 75 million and they want 75, and they'll do business for 50, then that's a hefty chunk out of our transfer Arsenal allegedly, depending on how we can structure the payments. You'd also be inclined to believe for us to even get anywhere in regards to us possibly even entertaining the idea of signing Zaha, we'd probably have to offer some make weights, I think that's the right term, or players in exchange. You look at Chambers, whether it's permanently or on loan, that's around a £20 million player, especially the season he's been in. That could probably knock something off the fee. People like El Nene, possibly Mavropanos on loan. You've seen Reece Nelson and Maitland-Niles linked. I wouldn't let Maitland-Niles leave on loan, and I'd want Nelson to stay next season, but potentially Nelson could be a candidate to play games at Palace, similar to Loftus-Cheek, how he enjoyed game time before going back to Chelsea. So unless we're going to do something like that, I can't see us getting it. Something tells me City will look at him. I don't think they need him, of course, but something just tells me City and Liverpool will have looks. I doubt they'll go for him because Liverpool have been linked with Pepe. He'll probably be a bit cheaper than just going on the basis of this. I'd be all for Zaha. I know Zaha polarizes opinion. The only reason I wouldn't be for Zaha is because it's going to be a hefty chunk of the budget. Allegedly, people within the club are big fans of him and very keen on him, so we'll see how it develops. But if it was just as white and black as bringing him to the club, I would. But then when you look at other targets, regardless of what you think of them, you look at Thorgan Hazard, who I'll speak in another vid, been linked with us. He's probably 35 to 40 or just about that. You look at Lozano, you look at Calvin Stengs, in my opinion, we should be going for. You look at Julian Brandt for 24. These are all cheaper alternatives in wide positions, which would allow us to save money and reinvest in elsewhere. Like, I can't stop my agenda of signing a proper centre-half in the summer to go with Socrates, Holding, Koscielny if he continues this sort of thing. I would love Zaha. If we just look at his statistics, admittedly, people are very unorganised. I should have this all to hand. But again, of course, he's not Alexis Sanchez, but what player have we got that wants to take people on, that thrives on taking people on, that thrives on being fouled? Obviously, he reacts to it a lot. But we haven't got that. Since Alexis Sanchez dipped off, we ain't got that. We really haven't. And see, just as I've typed his name in, you're seeing an article from the Daily Mirror. I like Zaha, man. Allegedly was an Arsenal fan growing up. Not that it has much relevance, but I'm a fan of Zaha, man. He's 26 years of age now, so he's still got a longevity thing. For some reason, I thought it was 28. He's actually contracted until 2023, so again, it would be a hefty one. Allegedly, he's been linked with PSG as well. I mean, for the lifestyle, that could be a good move. But I'm sure he wants to stay in England. Now, this season, he's got 8 goals, 8 assists. Admittedly, Not the most eye-catching of seasons on that note, but I've got a lot of time for what's all these pop-ups. 8 goals, 8 assists could really help us, people. But sorry, people. Get him some mad pop-ups when I'm going on transfer mark. I want to see how many goals he's actually scored for Palace altogether. Yeah, so 8 goals, 8 assists in 30 Premier League appearances this season, people. He's only got 2 appearances in the FA Cup. Yeah, he's done 7 yellow cards. Discipline's a bit of an issue. Has he scored in any big games? He got an assist against us. I'm just looking at. He got an assist against Liverpool as well. Yeah, man, he seems up for the big games these days, man. And if it would show me how much he's actually scored. Now, I'm not sure across both totals, people, but what's it? He's Crystal Palace in 319 appearances. He's got 51 goals and 63 assists. Now, I do see someone that could score a bit more goals than that, but that could give us something. He's 26, so he's going to go up a level now, people, in my opinion. In 173 appearances in the Premier League, he's got 32 assists and 30 goals. So that's a decent return, people. It's not the best, but it's a decent return. The only sticking point is for the money that, as much as I like Zaha, 75 million. For them sort of money brackets there, you've got to be returning a decent thing. And I don't quite think he's worth 75 million. I do think he's worth 50 million in total, regardless. But it'll be difficult for Arsenal to get it done. If it was up to me and we genuinely do want him, then I can only see us doing it if we could offer anything from 30 to around 40 million. Probably structure another 10 million or so, taking us into the 50 million bracket over time. If we can structure this deal perfectly, I think it's doable. But I think the big point, which I would have to go with if I was on the negotiating board, would be you'd have to throw in a Callum Chambers, a El Nene, a Mavropanos or Nelson on loan. We'd have to throw in a Sutton, people, to make the P's go down, because that's an expensive price tag. I think Zaha would hit the ground running. I think he would relish it. I think he wants to move to a top 6 club again. Admittedly, if I was him, I'd go to Dortmund or entertain PSG or any other team that's linked with him. Only he knows what will happen. Only Crystal Palace know what will happen. All I know is Palace are going to be laughing, because that's a good investment that they're going to make back on him. They bought him back from United when he needed a bit of love, made him feel important again. Anything from 45 to 75, which allegedly they want, the top end, is what they're going to get in the summer. Wan-Bissaka, I don't think they'll sell both of them, but when the time comes for him to go, that's a nice little earner for them to reinvest in the squad. And the trick for Palace would be to reinvest it properly, sort of thing. Like, if they can, I think clubs nowadays, they're open with their players leaving. Even Liverpool, Coutinho went, they reinvested properly. The correct thing Palace would need to do, in my opinion, would be re-scouting, if that makes sense. How you bring, what players are you going to bring in with the money hypothetically you're going to get? That's what would make the difference for me, people. And I was going to speak about it in a separate vid, but we might as well just do it here, you know. Apparently, we're closely watching. This is all paper talk now. A couple of journalists are saying the Zaha thing, but I believe this one is Graph Mike. I've only got his at McGrath Mike. He said allegedly Arsenal are closely watching £35 million rated Belgian winger Thorgan Hazard. Now, you lot know I've been on his case because I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's the best option we can go out and get, but I think he's a good player, one that would impact us positively, one that can do good things for us both in the Premier League in general and just any game he can play and identify an area we need. Like he said, he's Hazard's younger brother. He probably wanted to have a fair crack at the Premier League and he didn't get it. Now, admittedly, he's been linked continuously with Dortmund. I know Dortmund gets Zaha and him. It's a madness. He looks destined to go to Dortmund, and his managers more or less talked it up that he's going to leave, and he's actually more or less name dropped Dortmund and Liverpool and a couple other clubs. So there's going to be a lot. But allegedly, he's gone on to say, this article's gone on to say that Emery's a big fan of him. Obviously, if Emery's a fan and he ties in with £35 million, we haven't got the biggest of budgets. This is right up our street, people, similar to Brandt, regardless of what you think of Julian Brandt. £24 million release clause, 70 odd million allegedly that we have in the summer to spend. We've got to kind of be smart and vigilant with how we spend it. So yeah, he said he's gone on to say he started his career at Chelsea's academy before getting his first start away from senior football. That isn't entirely true, as we know. Hazard's younger brothers were brought in to Chelsea once upon a time, And I think Thorgan's actually, Thorgan was somewhere else and then he left, obviously. And the younger brother, what's his younger brother's name? Is it T.Hazard or something like that? 23. I'm not sure if he's still there, but he was on loan at Club Bruges. So there's a couple of them. And I think they even have a fourth brother, a very young brother, but I don't know for him. But I'd be all up for Hazard, man. If you was to offer me out Zaha and Hazard, I would love them both. I've got a bias to Zaha because, I mean, he's a street baller, innit? But Hazard, I got a street bias to Zaha. But Hazard's cheaper, probably got better statistics if I was to look as well. He probably does have more than 8 goals, 8 assists. At the risk of looking stupid, people, I'm going to search that. So let's see. Thorgan Hazard. Forgive me if I'm butchering his name continuously, people. See, and as I've typed in his name, the Dortmund manager's playing coy on his actual future. So yeah, similar to Hazard, he's 26 years of age. The big reason as to why we could possibly do this one is he's contracted until 2020, so they're gonna have to sell him. So he's cheaper than Hazard. I mean, he's cheaper than Zaha, same age as Zaha. His contract is running out, and if he's rated at 35 million, we can probably structure the deal a bit, and that gives us a stronger leg to stand on in terms of negotiating. The only issue could be is that it sparks a bidding war because, like I said, Dortmund, it's been linked with Liverpool, been linked with us, and however a whole heap of other clubs are going to be interested just because Liverpool and Arsenal are looking, and Dortmund in that regards. So yeah, he started his career in Belgium, before going to Lens, and then he went to Chelsea. That's actually what happened. But yeah, so it's not entirely better, but I did think he'd have better stats. He's got 10 assists and 9 goals in 29 appearances. So it's not too dissimilar from Zaha. So you can see how he would be a better option in regards to what I've said in this vid. So if out of them, my bias is to Zaha because I mean he's a Londoner like me. He reminds me of someone I was playing cage football with, and I really like Zaha. But if I'm using my brain and away from all bias and personal feeling, then Hazard is the one we go for as opposed to Zaha. And also, we wouldn't need to probably offer make weights to kind of sweeten up the deal. So that would be it, people. Do you know what? Finally, I was going to do separate vids, but we might as well just wrap it up here. We all know there's a bit of oohing and ahhing in regards to who's going to become the technical director at Arsenal. 1 minute it was looking nailed on to be Monchi, then it's this guy, then it's that guy, then it's the third guy. But allegedly, Edu, the former Arsenal player, is back on him coming to Arsenal to become our technical director. And his first signing is already lined up in Gabriel Martinelli. If you've already seen the links with him, the Eternal right winger, I think he's gonna join the club regardless. It looks like that one's done. And that will be the first signing. I have seen a lot of the reports in regards to Edu coming back, and the one sticking point that I saw is actually that we have to wait until July, apparently. I don't know whether that's to deal with any of his commitments. Apologies for people cutting the grass. But I don't know if that's to do with any of his commitments in his homeland, in his personal life, or any obligations in regards to his current employers. But if he was to come into July, in terms of planning, you can see how we could kind of be behind, because you can imagine Arsenal's team of delegates, scouts, and Emery and all of these people, they're collaborating together and drawing up targets, or they already have, because like I told you, we're going to see a lot of moves that are announced in the summer, and the majority of them, it won't obviously get signings where it happens a week and then it happens a week later, but most of these signings were done in the winter continuously. Even when we signed Xhaka, not to big us up or anything, but Xhaka, we was in talks a year before it actually happened, allegedly. He said that with Wenger. So if we're talking about getting targets, convincing them, to a degree, we might be playing catch up. If he joins mid-July, and the season starts earlier now, and we're in August, we could be playing catch up and stuff. And to be honest, would you make a lot of signings will happen regardless of a technical director being in place because of Sanya and stuff, but would you make too many changes or make any drastic measures without him coming in and seeking his advice or something? I'm not too sure. So I'm all for it. Edu knows the club. Again, Sanye's got the South American contacts. So has Edu. And it looks like we're already exploiting it with Martinelli's apparent signing. So this is the sort of angle we need to go at. I don't want to call them emerging markets because they're not really anymore, because everyone knows South America's got ballers. But in regards to South America, in regards to probably players coming into France from Senegal and joining teams like Metz, we need to be the first on the case and have eyes and ears and looking at these players continuously, people, because we know we haven't got the money. I don't think Arsenal has a problem scouting, and I don't think we have a problem convincing players. The issue now becomes of, if we see this player, people, and we're saying, we want you, we're going to sign you. Other people are going to be looking around and saying, we want you, we can offer you more money, we can offer you this, we're playing champs, we're doing this, we're doing that. And that can make more of an attractive offer to other clubs. That's where Arsenal kind of falls short, because we ain't got the finances to do what certain clubs have done. I'm all for Gabriel Martinelli because he's a right where he can play on a couple flanks, but he can play on the right. He's 17, so he ties in with age and stuff. Don't know if he's ready, because I'm not watching it week in, week out. No clue if he's ready to immediately jump into Premier League action, or because of his age at 17, you'd be inclined to believe initially, possibly with the under-23s. Not too sure. I think, in fact, no, work permit won't be an issue because he's got Italian ancestry. So he'll probably link up with the under-23s at first, or he'll probably be involved at first team action. But how realistic is it to see a 17-year-old starting week in, week out for Arsenal? Because he's going to be unpolished. I want him to hit the ground running. Of course, I would love us to have this wonder kid, but it wouldn't exactly be fair on him. Is he going to deliver 10 goals, 10 assists minimum in the Premier League, which we need? I'm not too sure. So fans would probably need to be a bit easy with him and let him develop, and you probably won't see the best of him probably to the second half of the season. We'll see little drips and drabs of him, but he possibly won't be involved as much as we think. And it would also be I'd also be inclined to believe, what does that mean then? Because you'd have him and Nelson vying for wide positions, as well as Emery and others. Does that mean we're going to go big on a left winger as well? And Iwobi's been in decent form, and he's had his best goal scoring season, so I'm not sure. Or do we concede that these, along with Nelson, Martinelli and Emery and Saka and all these other young options, do we leave the pathway clear, let them develop and have scope to grow, and we go heavy in, I don't know, replacing Aaron Ramsey with a significant midfield replacement, someone that could bring in goals, someone that's or a complete midfielder, because there's different types of midfielders I believe we need. Do we go for a centre half of top quality? I know Monreal's getting on a bit and Kola divides opinion. Do we go for a left back? Do we go for all the positions I've named? I'm not too sure, and seeing is believing, but it's going to be an interesting summer, because we know we need to get players out, we need to get players in, we need to do certain things before we can do other things, and that we need to get players out before we can bring them in. Unai Emery's probably got his own way of what he wants to see from the players and how he wants to set about next season. So it's going to be interesting. And that kind of brings me back to my central point in regards to Edu people, in that with all the changes and Unai Emery has to bring in his targets, get people out, try and think of new tactics and the pre-season schedule. Surely, if a man is going to join in July, you can see how potentially we could be playing catch-up. You get it, people? I'm just a football man. I don't know anything really, but that's my opinion in it. So on that note, I'm going to keep it moving. I think we spoke about Zaha, we've spoken about Hazard, we've actually spoken about Edu and Martinelli. I was meant to do it in 3 separate vids, but do you know what? It's good. It's about to say Good Friday. I've been drinking too much, people. It's Easter Sunday, so you know what? Give it to you lot nicely, wrapped up in a nice little 18-minute vid. Possibly bring this out before we actually play Arsenal versus Palace, which I'll be going to. People, DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching and supporting as usual. Get in the comments, subscribe, and do the rest. Bang.